He was shocked to find a 7-meter snake by his bedside. It was a night so quiet that even the crickets seemed afraid to make a sound. In a small village of Ikumba, nestled deep in the African forest, everyone was asleep except for Juma. He tossed and turned in his small thatched hut, struggling to fight the strange feelings crawling up his spine. His lamp flickered faintly, casting eerie shadows on the mud walls. That was when he felt it, the low hiss that froze his blood. Slowly, Juma turned his head, and what he saw nearly made his heart stop. There, coiled beside his sleeping mat, was a massive snake. Its black, glossy scales shimmered under the dim lights, and its unblinking eyes locked on him. 7 meters long, the creature's body stretched across his floor like a cursed river. Juma's hand trembled as he pulled his blanket closer. He didn't dare move, afraid the snake might strike. But where had it come from? He had locked his door and windows tightly before sleeping. His hut has no holes, yet there it was, staring at him like it had been waiting for this moment. Juma's mind raced. Was this some sort of witchcraft? A punishment from the gods? He recalled the old stories his grandmother used to tell him about Ngoma, a legendary serpent said to guard hidden secrets of the forest. No one in Ikumba had seen such a creature in decades, but elders whispered that it would appear to those whose lives were about to change forever. Juma tried to convince himself it was just a coincidence, but the snake's presence felt too deliberate. He thought of screaming for help, but hesitated. What if the villagers blamed him for bringing such a creature into their midst? Ikumba was a superstitious place. People feared the unknown, and strange occurrences were often seen as curses. If they thought Juma was involved in something dark, they might banish him or worse. The snake suddenly moved, and Juma held his breath. It raised its head slightly, its forked tongue flicking the air as if tasting his fear. Then, as if guided by some unseen force, it slithered towards the door. Juma watched in stunned silence as the snake nudged the latch with its massive head. To his amazement, the door creaked open, even though he was sure he had bolted it. The snake slipped outside, disappearing into the night. Juma sat frozen for what felt like an eternity. Finally, he grabbed his lantern and rushed out, hoping to catch a glimpse of where the snake had gone. But the village was silent and there was no sign of the serpent. He stood there, his heart pounding, when he noticed something strange. A tail of silvery marks led from his door to the edge of the forest. The marks shimmered faintly under the moonlight, almost like the path has been burned into the ground. The next morning, the village was abuzz with news of Juma's encounter. Word had spread quickly, and a crowd gathered outside his hut. Elder Masika, the oldest and wisest man in Ikumba, arrived with his walking stick and a frown on his face. "Tell me everything you saw," Masika demanded. Juma recounted the events of the night, leaving nothing out. When he finished, Masika's face grew grim. "The Ngoma has chosen you," he said, his voice heavy with meaning. The villagers gasped, and Juma felt a chill run through him. He had heard tales to know that being chosen by such a creature was really a good thing. "What does it mean?" Juma asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Masika shook his head. "The Ngoma does not appear without a reason. It is a messenger, a guardian, and sometimes a curse. You must find out why it came to you, or your life, and perhaps the life of this village will never be the same." Juma didn't know what to think. He wasn't a hero or a troublemaker. He was just a simple farmer trying to survive like everyone else. Why would a mystical snake choose him? He looked around at the villagers, their faces filled with fears and suspicion. Deep down, he knew they were already wondering if he had done something to anger the gods. That night, Juma couldn't sleep. He sat by the fire in his hut, staring at the glowing embers and listening for any sign of the snake's return. As the hours dragged on, he began to feel like he was being watched. He turned suddenly, but there was nothing there. Still, the feeling wouldn't leave him. Just as he was about to give up and lie down, he heard a soft rustling outside his hut. His heart raced as he grabbed a stick cautiously, stepping out. The slippery trail was back, leading from his door and disappearing into the forest. Without thinking, Juma followed it, his lantern casting shaky beams of light on the ground. The trail led him deeper into the forest than he had ever been before. The trees grew thicker and the air felt heavy, almost as if the forest itself was alive and watching him. Finally, he came to a small clearing. In the center was a stone altar covered in strange carvings. The silvery trail ended there, shimmering brightly around the base of the altar. Juma's breath caught in his throat as he saw something lying on the altar. It was a small wooden box, intricately carved and glowing faintly. Against his better judgment, he reached out and opened it. Inside was a single object, a golden snake-shaped pendant. The moment he touched it, a voice echoed in his mind. "You have been chosen, Juma. The time has come." The voice was neither male nor female, and it filled him with both fear and curiosity. Before he could make sense of it, the ground beneath him trembled and the clearing was bathed in an eerie light. Juma looked up and saw the giant snake from his hut coiled around the trees, watching him. "What do you want from me?" Juma whispered, his voice shaking. The snake didn't speak, but its eyes seemed to tell him everything. Visions flooded Juma's mind of battles, secrets, and a destiny he could not yet understand. When the light faded, he was back in his hut, the golden pendant clutched in his hand. As dawn broke, Juma knew his life would never be the same. But was this a blessing or was it a curse? Only time will tell.